Morning peeps, good morning everyone, how's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Please tell me you've seen the promo vid for Haney-Prograis. Please tell me you've seen it. It's incredible. I love that kind of stuff. We don't see it enough in boxing. It's just the usual boring old promo style videos. This is a bit different. Very much a bit like what they do in the UFC. So yeah, credit to Alex Haynes who does that stuff for Matchroom. It's got me excited about the fight. I tweeted and I put up on my Instagram that I think this is a 50-50 fight. And a lot of you were like, no. Haney knocks him out 70-30, 60-40 at best. I don't see that. I don't see it. Look, I could be wrong. Maybe you guys are judging Prograis on his last fight and he didn't look great in his last fight. But I've always said, prior to Tio beating Josh, I've always said that I thought Prograis was the best 140 pounder. Look, he's only lost once, and that was a very, very close fight to Josh Taylor. Fight of the year back in 2019, I think it was. Yeah, he's 34 now, but, I mean, he keeps himself in good shape. I've never seen him out of shape. He's a southpaw, which is going to cause Devin some problems as well. And, I mean, Devin isn't going to be the bully in the ring. I mean, Devin at 135 is a lot bigger than anyone else. At 140, maybe it's just a case of him and Prograis are the same size. So, yeah, look, I like the fight. I think for Matchroom, it's a good end to the year. I think it's fair to say the start of the year maybe wasn't the best, but the end of the year is good. Obviously, Sonny Bam. I did the face-off for Sonny Bam yesterday. Sonny talks a lot, Bam doesn't. But when Bam does speak, you kind of believe it. You know, he doesn't say many words, but when he does, it's very strong and it's very firm. So look, Sonny Bam, which is the 16th, Haney-Prograis, the 9th. Obviously, we've got Josh Warrington, Lee Wood, Taylor Cameron, and I think they're trying to get Ben Eubank right at the end of the year, I think in the 23rd. I don't think AJ's fighting this year. It doesn't seem like it anyway. But regardless, I think that's a decent run to end the year if it happens. But look, back to Haney-Prograis. Haney deserves a lot of credit. He does. I mean, this guy's jumping up in weight and he's going, I think, straight to, at worst, the second best 140 pounder, at worst. And if he wins, I think he'll fight Teofimo Lopez next. Like, I think he's going straight from smoke to smoke to smoke. A lot of the guys are talking. Look at that Four Kings. And remember, Shakur wasn't an original Four King. A lot of people like to add Shakur in it. It was Ryan, it was Tank, it was Tio, and it was Devin. Tio and Devin have done the most work, right, and consistent as well. I know Tio retired and then unretired, but Tio's beat Loma and he's beaten Josh. Solid. That's fucking solid. And Devin's had some good wins as well. Obviously became undisputed, beat Loma, and now it looks like he's going to fight Regis Prograis. The other two, apart from fighting each other, you know, not much at all. But yeah, looking forward to that one. Another big fight, obviously coming up on the weekend. Jermell Charlo versus, or should I say it correctly, Canelo versus Jermell Charlo. Again, for me, it still feels like it's going under the radar. I did a video a couple of days ago that I put out yesterday with G-Man. Appreciate G-Man for coming down. I feel like it's just not being spoken about enough. And I thought about this and I wonder if it's because the last 3 Canelo fights have been promoted by Matchroom. And obviously every time Eddie can speak about Canelo, he's going to speak about Canelo. So Eddie was talking about him every single second. I think the fight before the last 3 was Caleb Plant, and they had that issue. Remember the slap issue? So it felt like all of Canelo's fights were big, maybe because that one, the Caleb Plant one, got a lot of heat. And the last 3, Eddie was just talking so much. Whereas this one, there is no spokesperson for him. Espinosa's not coming on and saying anything. And Jermell hasn't. I thought Jermell would have brought a bit more heat to it, and he's not. So, look, it doesn't mean it's not going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I've gone Canelo, obviously, since this fight was announced. I kind of leaned a bit to Jermell, but I am sticking firmly with Canelo now. I was thinking about sort of Jermell's defeats to Tony Harrison, and I thought to Brian Castano. I know it was a draw, but I thought he lost that fight. And I was watching the Castano fight, the first fight again, and I was thinking that guy ain't beating Canelo. There's no way. And don't get me wrong, he looked really good in the second fight, but I just feel like Canelo's just another level above, maybe another 2 or 3 levels above. And although I think Canelo has slipped a bit, he's going to slip, right? It's a long career, fighting since he was fucking 15. He's now, 34? It's a long career. All the injuries are picking up. I don't think he's slipped enough. I don't think so. I think he's going to bully Charlo. He's going to make Charlo fight on the back foot. Charlo's a good back foot fighter, but he's going to make Charlo have to think a lot. That extra weight's going to be interesting for Charlo. Like Charlo at 154, I know he balloons back up in the ring on the night, but Charlo at 154, light on his feet. Charlo at 168, what's he going to come into the ring at? 180, 185? It's a lot more heavy. He's going to feel, a lot more heavier. And fighting on the back foot is going to be interesting for Charlo. So I think he's going to have to do that for 12 rounds. If he can somehow push Canelo back like Bivol did, then this is going to be very interesting. But I don't think he will be able to. I think Canelo might stop him late, which it will be a statement, but I think Canelo might do that. Frank Warren talks Joe Joyce defeat, Zhang's future, Yard, and more. Let's focus on let's go backwards, actually. Let's talk about Yard. Yard was on Sky Sports the other day saying it should be easy to make the Buatsi Aziz winner fight him. No, it won't. Just because Yard fights on TNT and Buatsi and Aziz fight on Sky, it's not going to be easy. Like, especially if it's Buatsi, that's a very, very big fight. Aziz is a big fight, but if it's Buatsi and Buatsi looks good against Aziz, all of a sudden, Yard Buatsi is a big one. I don't think they'll chuck it on pay-per-view. I think that will take the piss, but it's a big fight nonetheless. Now, if you're Frank, you're not going to want that fight on fucking Sky, are you? And if you're Ben Shalom, you're not going to want it on TNT. So it's not that easy to make. Hopefully they can. That's a genuine 50-50 fight. I don't even know who's the A side in that one. And that, again, is the problem. So when Joe Joyce fought Joseph Parker, you can understand the A and B. You can see it A side, B side. So A side will always dictate where that fight goes, etc., etc. This one between, again, I'm thinking it's going to be Buatsi Yard. I mean, who's honestly, who's the A side in that one? No idea. So yeah, it's not that easy to make. For Zhieli Zhang, I guess he just has to wait to see what Tyson Fury does. If Tyson Fury, will get past Francis Ngannou, again, he's not mandated by the WBC, so Fury can take his pick of who he wants to fight. Obviously, we all want to see Usyk undisputed. There's still talks about AJ, and Zhang's name has to be in the mix as well now, especially because of Frank Warren. It should be an easy fight to make. So again, if you're Zhang, you're just waiting on Fury. You're waiting on Fury. He's not going to fight Usyk. Usyk has his mandatory, which is Hrgovic or the undisputed. So he's down the pecking order there. Can he fight AJ? Maybe, although we want to see AJ Wilder. So he's basically waiting on Fury. And if it's not one of those top four guys, then I don't know. I mean, how sexy is a Bacoli fight, a Frank Sanchez fight, a Ruiz fight? Not quite sure. Joe Joyce. Let's focus on Joe Joyce because I feel like he's the interesting one out of all of this. It's back-to-back defeats now for Joe, and it's a bit more than that. It's the manner of the defeats as well. I mean, the first fight, it was one-way traffic, wasn't it? Let's be honest, the first fight was one-way traffic. I thought Joe was starting to turn the tide a little bit, but then it got stopped because of the eye. But the first 6 rounds, one-way traffic. And the second fight, we all know what happened, right? So it's not just back-to-back defeats, it's how we got defeated. That being said, and I said this after the fight, when the best fight the best, there's going to be a loser. I have no problem. We can't applaud Joe for taking these tough fights and then kick him to the curb when he loses. I think there's still a couple of years left in Joe. I do. Look, his style of fighting ain't great, but it's his style of fighting. I mean, it got him to where it got him to, right? Where we were all saying he was a top 5 heavyweight and could cause problems to all the heavyweights. So look, it got him somewhere, and unfortunately, he couldn't just get over the last hurdle. He just couldn't do it. But that doesn't mean there's not exciting fights left for Joe Joyce. There are a number of exciting fights he can have. Look, we await to see the situation with Dillian Whyte. That's been a fight that's been spoken about quite a bit. If Dillian Whyte comes through his own situation, then that's a fight I think people will be interested in. Martin Bacoli is an interesting fight. Daniel Dubois 2 is an interesting fight. Andy Ruiz, Frank Sanchez. I mean, don't get me wrong, those two are sort of far-fetched, but there are heavyweight fights out there for Joe. Heavyweight fights. Now, Joe's going to have to decide what he wants to do because, I mean, I know Frank touched on retirement, and I kind of said that's stupid. But I mean, if you're Joe and you take that kind of punishment that he takes, it's not great. Like, it ain't great for you long term. It really ain't. And another thing as well for Joe is that he's going to have to, he's going to be humbled a bit by the check. And what I mean by that is that I don't know what he got paid for Zhieli Zhang 1 and 2 and Joseph Parker, but I can tell you now, whatever he's going to get paid for his next fight isn't going to be anything like that. So he's going to have to get used to, maybe for the next couple of fights, maybe the check isn't the same. And that's going to take some getting used to, right? I mean, how excited is he going to be to get paid a quarter of what he's used to getting paid for hard fights? And that's kind of what it might be for Joe. It's a steep curve. And it's a steep curve because Joe, unfortunately, isn't a pay-per-view fighter and he doesn't sell out arenas. So, yeah. So it's going to be tough for Joe. But I still think there are fights there for him. I just feel like he got hit by a truck, and a truck that is on the left-hand side of the road. If you guys know what I mean. So look, it's going to be a tough one, but we'll see what happens. Eddie Hearn believes Ryder, not Berlanga, is next fight for Munguia. I don't know. If you're Berlanga, remember Berlanga just recently signed with Eddie Hearn. I mean, the conversations would have been, okay, Eddie, can you get me the big fights? Yeah, I can. Surely that means it's Berlanga, right? No, surely that means Belanga's in the front of the queue. Ryder had his big fight. It doesn't get much bigger than fighting Canelo in Mexico. You've had one, Ryder. Can I get one now? So I feel like maybe that's a Berlanga situation or Berlanga conversation where Berlanga saying, maybe I don't fight Munguia next. Because it really should be Berlanga fighting Munguia. That's the one you want to see. Puerto Rico versus Mexico. Anywhere in America is a big fight. But especially in New York. So, yeah, I'm a bit surprised that Ryder would have jumped the queue here. Ryder's had his. Don't get me wrong. Happy to see Ryder get more opportunities. But Ryder's had he's made his nice 7 figures. Fought for the undisputed super middleweight titles. Maybe Berlanga deserves a shot at someone big next. Oscar De La Hoya predicts that Canelo Alvarez will break down and beat Jermell Charlo. Finally, Oscar said something positive about Canelo. It always seems like every time I read Oscar talking about Canelo, it's almost digging him. Like, Canelo will lose to this person. Canelo's this, Canelo's that. Finally, a bit of common sense from Oscar there, because he's true. He is true. Terence Crawford, the guys you were calling bums put up a better fight than your favorite fighter. Ooh, dig. That's a dig. That's a dig. If I'm Errol Spence, I'm just taking all of this. I'm just taking it, and it's motivating me for the get back. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Errol can beat Terence, but regardless, I'm listening to every interview that Terence has done. I'm taking all of this. Terence has been serenaded around the world. He's been on so many different chat shows talking about the victory. No one's talking about Errol. If I'm Errol, I'm just somewhere and I'm in a dungeon hitting a bag. I'm fucking my get back. Yeah, I'm thinking that. But it's kind of true though, isn't it? Although, again, Errol landed some good shots, some clean shots. Terence just ate them. Terence ate them, adjusted, and went up another level. It was actually scary to see. Scary to see. Frank Martin and Shakur Stevenson's rant. That's some hoe shit. You made the shit personal. Oh, what are you going to do? Stop this nonsense, man. Keep it in the ring. Shakur has a right to rant. Frank has a right to respond. The fact is, and I don't know what Frank's highest purse is, but sometimes, the way I was saying, Shakur needs to kind of humble himself and take sometimes lowball money to make these big fights. I'm going to apply the same logic to Frank. Like, this is a massive fight. Shakur is a massive fight. You think you can beat Shakur, and Frank talks like he thinks he can beat him. Maybe you take a little lowball money, because you know what? You beat him, you're running it back. And not only that, but you beat him, you're a superstar. You're a superstar. Frank isn't that. Frank isn't that. Like, when we think of 135 fighters, no one thinks of, like, you mentioned 3 or 4. No one really mentions Frank. I think Frank's a good fighter, but no one really mentions him. We're not quite sure about him yet. You beat Shakur Stevenson. Not even if you beat him, you make it a good fight. You're there. You're there. So, yeah. All right, let's have a quick look. What do you guys make of it being pay-per-view? Devin versus Regis. Not a lot of people complained. Not a lot. I saw a few, but not a lot. Mate, talking of pay-per-view, Showtime are out of boxing. And they're only going to do pay-per-view events. It's kind of what they do now. They've just decided that, enough's enough. And obviously this follows on from 3-4 years ago when HBO said enough's enough as well. Not good for boxing, that. Not good for boxing. I mean, if you're Eddie, you're probably a little bit excited because that means you can start maybe eating up talent. But it's not great. Not great for HBO and then Showtime to say boxing's almost a bit too expensive to put on. Pay-per-view's different. Your normal fights, your everyday weekend fights, we're out of it. Wow. What else we got? Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor went face-to-face to announce their rematch. Money's on Cameron again in that one. Yeah. If Katie dragged her down to 135, yes, but fight at 140 again. I mean, you got to fucking respect the fucking kahunas, like to say, fuck this, let's do it again at 140. But sometimes someone in that team, I think, needs to take a stance and say, okay, one second, Katie. A, we don't need to do this. And B, maybe if we are going to do this, maybe drain her a little bit, maybe make some advantage. But no, she's her own boss. Yanibek Adam Kanali says, I'll knock Eubank out in the first round with my eyes closed. Must be in Vegas. Okay, there's two things here. Number one, you will not knock out Eubank in the first round, and certainly not with your eyes closed. And for the fight to be in Vegas, dude, you don't have a draw in Vegas. I saw this and I was like, dude, I don't get where Yanibek doesn't have a draw. He's not a draw like that. If I'm Yanibek, I come over to the UK. Like, Chris has actually got a following. Chris is a strange one. Like, Chris, like, when it's all said and done, Chris's career is so weird. Like, Chris could have been, I think, I know you guys might jump at me and say, get the fuck up. I think that Chris could have been as big. AJ was always there, right? For years, it's always been AJ. I think Chris could have been second. Like, before Fury's re-emergence, I think Chris could have been second. But anyway, back to it. I think if you're Yanibek, you come over here because I think Chris will sell that fight. And the fight does good numbers over here. Over in America, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck about a Brit versus, where's Yanibek from? Kazakhstan? In Vegas. Like, it's not doing 4,000 people. It's not. But yeah. All right. I think that is it. Tomorrow I do the press conference for Jay Opetaia versus Jordan Thompson. Tough ass for Jordan Thompson. The Opetaia looks like one mean motherfucker. But you never know. This is boxing, right? In order to win a world title, you have to go through some of those guys. And one thing Jordan Thompson can do is hit. Very, very, very big cruiserweight. Might be the biggest cruiserweight out there. So he's got that on his side. But Opetaia, sometimes you get those motherfuckers that just, yeah, I think he could be that guy.